Good?
Yeah, good to go when you all are.
All right, y'all far away.
Well, Lane, what's it like just being back here and, in Atlanta? It's been a while, but, being back here for SEC Media Days and, seeing all the coaches here. I know Brian Kelly, his first year here and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, just got here and sitting in this room, so, they just fly you in and put you in a little shuttle to get you here, so it's not like you spend any time in the city, so, just kind of as a refresher, even though it's kind of the middle of the summer, towards the end here, about football and just when you get here and, when the TV's on before, watching other coaches and stuff, just kind of gets everybody's juices flowing.
What do you think of Texas and OU kind of joining the SEC and all the expansion going on in college football? What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. There's some geographic ones that now don't make a lot of sense, but, everything evolves, everything changes, the games change, and now we got conferences changing too, so, it's, at the end of the day, it's obviously about money, so not about tradition is what it is.
Lane, we're looking at the quarterback race between Luke and Jackson. Just what is going to be, I guess, the biggest thing that's going to separate whoever gets the job, and I guess what is the most important quality for a quarterback to have in this offense?
Well, it'll be a fun competition, seeing the guys play it out. Both guys did good things in the spring and did some things. They're both still young. They're both just going into their true sophomore years, so a lot will be leading the team and taking care of the ball and making really good decisions, so they'll make each other better.
Lane, what's kind of the expectations in Mingo once camp starts in terms of kind of getting him back after that injury?
Yeah, we'll work him in slowly, and just want to make sure that we do the best thing in his interest long term, like we have for other players when we've been here, and he'll be really good when he's ready to go.
I know you can't get FaceTime over the summer, but have you gotten any progress reports about anybody? Just kind of what have you heard about the players' growth this summer?
We got a lot of work to do when we get to camp. This portal thing is really good and really bad, like everything, and so it's really good on paper, and you can plug in players like free agency, but, you got culture issues because you got kids coming from all over the place with different habits and styles and the way that they think, so we have a lot of work to do in training camp that's a little bit unusual. It's just not X's and O's.
Do you know how you're going to go about doing that? Or?
Hey, thank you.
Nice shoes,
I appreciate it.
Yeah. You need a Celsius or anything?
I'm good, thanks. I'm all natural.
I guess the new frontier of it, do you know how you go about building that culture, or is that something you kind of have to learn on the fly?
Well, no, I mean, we've done it, and it's just, normally it takes longer because you get kids, and most of your freshmen don't play a lot necessarily and stuff, and so the leaders become your older players, and they've been in your systems for a while, and now they haven't, and they're coming in the spring, and even some just coming lately. We dealt with that a little bit last year, so it's just a different challenge.
How tough is that in terms of not only having a bunch of new players coming, but also a lot of new staff members too? So in terms of just like getting all that to kind of coalesce.
Yeah, those are both challenges. A huge challenge because not only do you got to get the players into a culture, you got to get the coaches with losing so many and losing our strength coach Wilson Love, which is very valuable in culture. So that's a huge challenge that we're into.
In USA's today's piece about, I want to make sure I get the quote right. You said, "This is what I always pictured, a great football place. You can go, stay for a long time, and not jump around." Well, in the age of college football, coaches, the carousel is insane, but what makes this a job that kind of made you want to say that?
Well, I haven't read that yet, but that probably surprised a lot of people, with my track record and probably the way that I think, but growing up and young and coaching, that's what I was thinking, and I'm assuming he wrote in there the story about being in South Bend, Notre Dame, and driving in there, and that's just kind of what I pictured, and then, that was in Tennessee, and it's the same thing in Ole Miss, smaller places that are, everyone knows everything about football, and football is kind of superior to everything else, and so there's good and bad to everything, but it's really neat. And then when you're able to have a year of success and see the excitement come out, like in our football program, and now especially in our baseball program, it's neat to see.
How comforting is it to be in a conference where it seems like when everything's shifting, they're always a step ahead?
Yeah, I mean, the SEC, just means more, but, it's always been ahead of the game, especially, I don't know, 10, 15 years, and now over that time, maybe the last 5 to 10 years of what I've said was a shift of West Coast players coming out here, which didn't used to happen very much a long time ago, and now the best players come to the SEC from around the country, and so it's just even more competitive.
Once Mingo is ready to go, do you project him to be the #1 receiver? Is that something you want to see him be able to do this year?
We're not worried about #1 receiver. You know, we want everybody to be their best and you know, help others and work really hard. So, you know, we got a lot of work to do figuring out where guys are playing and how they mesh together and all that.
Lane, it's, I guess, a little over a year now that the NIL has kind of been a thing. I know you've been vocal, but just kind of, I bet you're more, how do you feel you and your staff have kind of grasped that and just kind of the recruiting wise? Do you feel like it's something that changes almost every day?
Well, I think it's changed, and you know, like I've said, there's no cap to it. There was no blueprint of how to do things, and everybody's in totally different situations. So, you know, I think people have tried to figure that out as it goes, and it's been a lot easier for people that have a lot of money. You know, it makes it easier to figure out. So, and a lot more challenging for others, and it's kind of, I think, going to, which it started to do, separate levels of football even further than they have been.
Do you think it'll be possible for teams to climb between those levels, or is it just kind of stratified based on who has money?
I think it'll be a lot to do with obviously your donor base and how I said it a long time ago. It's like baseball. You know, there's different payrolls all over the place, and so if you take all variables in sports and, you know, third down, take anything you want, stadium size, all that stuff, I promise you payroll over a long period of time wins out. And so I'm sure that'll happen.
How important is continuity, especially in this portal era where it seems like rosters can change a lot in a short time?
Well, I think that's different challenges, and you got to figure that out, and that may be, you know, less plays even and stuff that, you know, are in your playbooks because, you know, you got to simplify because you have so many new players coming in and out. So it's a huge set of challenge.
How big is it getting Zach Evans in the portal, and given the success your running backs have had in your offense, you know, what are some of the things you're expecting him to do this year?
Well, Zach has made some, you know, really big plays at times over his career, and obviously a highly recruited player coming out, and had a good spring with him. So we have almost a whole new room there. You know, our offensive skill would probably be the poster child of the transfer portal. You know, the positions of losing so many guys and then so many new ones coming in, you know, over 1 year time. So, you know, a lot of work to do.
Talk about just what you're kind of excited to see on the offensive line, especially with Mason Brooks coming in. I mean, are there any guys on the offensive line that you've seen kind of progress from year 1, year 2, not just as a player, but just from a leadership standpoint?
Well, I think our guys had a really good spring up front. Nick Broker obviously has been a great leader, and Eli Acker stepped up, and so you know, we're excited to add Mason to that group and just see if we can improve.
What's it like being a dog owner?
Yeah, it's pretty neat just from the puppy stage, and you know, my daughter now lives out here in Oxford and going to Oxford High, so it's pretty neat for her to get the puppy and to see it all grow together. So life comes full circle sometimes.
Lane, last year you had a couple of incredible leaders with Matt and with Chance Campbell. Anybody you kind of see filling that role maybe this year?
Well, those guys were elite leadership, and that's an example of a portal guy coming in that was really elite. And so, you know, in Chance and getting here and adding him late, so that shows it can work, you know, but you know, that's also not going to be the case all the time. A lot of portal guys are leaving and they're not happy where they're at, and maybe they need some work too because they weren't meshing, partly their fault as well.
A couple new head coaches coming to the SEC, in, you know, Napier and Kelly. Have you had a chance to dialogue with them about what it's like kind of coaching in the SEC, especially kind of in their first year?
Yeah, that doesn't really happen in the SEC. Coaches ain't real big on helping each other out, if you haven't noticed. So I don't think we do a lot of seminars to help the new guys in this conference. So, like when I first got here, it was Spurrier went riding the elevator with me. So.
Do you view the roster for 2022 as finished, or is it still kind of trying to add some pieces before camp?
I would think that it's 99% finished, yeah.
Well, there's a lot of, you just mentioned the transfer guys and how there's a lot of that.
Sorry on that too, the window changed that too,
Yeah,
so
sure.
there's not as many guys that could leave now that they could a year ago. Sorry.
No, you're all the changeover with like your roster too, with like skill guys and whatever, and you always preach how it's a plug and play type of thing. Like your offense is always going to move fast with whoever's kind of in there, even though there's a lot of new faces. But you just talked about the offensive line and how much experience is coming back. How crucial is that O-line's return going to be in those other transfer guys or new guys at the skill position spots developing well there?
Well, it's always big, especially with new quarterbacks, new starters. So anytime you can run the ball and protect them, it works really well. And so, I mean, I was just sitting here before you guys came in and watching the TV, and their subject was Georgia, and their quarterback play. And obviously, they were talking about what a great system is there, with how well they run the ball and how well they protect them. So that makes quarterbacks' life really easy.
I'm sure it's been stressful having to replace so many pieces, but does that also kind of low-key get you excited as a coach, just being able to, find, new things to implement?
I do. I think it re-energizes you sometimes. That can be an issue with, having a ton of your top players returning. Same issue if you're ranked really high. It's very easy to not, be complacent and buy into that. Oh, well, they already know what they're doing. So you better get re-energized and start at, step one with all of these new kids coming in, or you're going to be in trouble.
The last thing that I had, based on you talking about, the longevity and how you like it there and how there's so much buzz around it, does the fact that you might have, like, with coaches jumping all the time, I mean, there's a sense of sometimes coaches jump and it doesn't work out and then they kind of have to go back down to square one. Is that ever, like, anything that kind of you think about in terms of being like, I don't want to have to do that again, I like kind of, I'm sticking around with what I'm doing here?
We're trying to say coaches go through that, but they jump somewhere and it doesn't work out and they got to go back down. Yeah. So, I mean, I could be the poster child for that. I think that we learn in life, we learn from experiences, and, I refer to obstacles the way a lot. Things happen that you think are really bad and you don't know eventually someday why they're good. And I've said that with the USC situation. I would have never, wanted that or thought it would be good for me, to be fired there, but I would have never went to Alabama and learned from Nick Saban. So, things happen sometimes that seem like the end of the world, and you don't know what the plan is until way later.
Have you seen Luke?
One more question.
Go, Drew.
Go ahead.
Okay. Just, have you seen Luke Altmaier kind of grow as a competitor for just from the time he stepped on campus and being thrown in the fire to the Sugar Bowl and then having to compete with Jackson Dart for the starting job? How do you see him grow as just kind of a competitor?
Well, it's difficult when you're a backup and you're a true freshman and you're behind Matt Corral. So, you're not going to do a lot of leading in that situation. So he's done a really good job, and that was a very difficult situation he was put into in the Sugar Bowl. It would be for anybody, let alone a freshman, and versus a defense that was playing great and really thought out, had a better plan than us defensively, because it's not like we were moving real well when Matt was in there. So, he's done a really good job since.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.